Hello, students. Welcome to the management level case study for the ratio analysis session for our organization, that is Cuppcarr. Now, students, the first thing that I have to ask from you is you would have gone through the case more in detail and you would have had a very stable understanding on how this organization works and performs also. So students, if I'm not mistaken, if everything is clear for you all, can I quickly get a Y in the chat box, students? If everything is clear for you all, can I get a Y in the chat box, students, if I'm not mistaken? Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, students. Thank you very much, students. So students, now if you observe, what I did effectively was I compared two organizations, that is our organization, Cuppcarr, and I compared Cuppcarr with Miltro Motors, that is our competitor organization. Now, initially, I considered the changes in the performance. That is what happened from the previous year revenue to the current year revenue, the changes in the performance. I was able to observe the changes in what students' performance. Now, I believe that is very clear for you all. So, firstly, let's consider the performance analysis. Now, if you observe the first one, that is Cuppcarr, our company, the revenue growth for the previous to current year is only 5.26%. And Miltro, it is 13 point how much, students? 19%. Do you see if you hear? So Miltro Motors is even performing wise in revenue growth. They're doing better, correct? Now, we have to quickly check and see how their margins are. Now, if you observe, the gross profit margin of Cuppcarr is only 28% and 26%. Now, in this case, if I'm not mistaken, it's 24% and 23%. So, Miltro is effectively giving better discount compared with Cuppcarr. Can I get a Y in the chat box if you can understand the technical analysis there, students? Can I quickly get a Y in the chat box? Because students, your profitability is comparatively low. Correct, no, students, if I'm not mistaken. The profitability is comparatively low. That's the reason revenue is better. Because can you remember, students, this car industry, internet is there, word of mouth is there, referrals is there. So at the end of the day, how does the consumer judges? Effectively, they judges based on the price, which is affordable for them, right? Can I get a confirmation from you in the chat box, students, if you are getting that point of view, their price that is affordable for them? So the first thing, can I just write down here? Miltro Motors is having a better revenue growth, since there is a lower profit margin charged. Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students? There is a lower profit margin charged. Excellent. Lower profit margin charged. Therefore, the consumers may prefer Miltro Motors. Make sense, no, students? Technical analysis, yeah. So that is one reason behind that. Now, students, I have to come to a quick answer. You have to tell it in the chat box. How many dealership that Cuppcarr has in our country? Well, then, what is the number of dealership? Anyone in the chat box? Excellent. I really prefer that. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. It is 214. What about Miltro Motors, students? How much they have? How much they have? How many dealership does Miltro Motors have? That is very, very important. So these have 214 dealership. Correct, no, students, if I'm not mistaken. And Miltro, I think it's 100 and, no, 419 is wrong. Miltro, it's given, students. I'll just take it to you. They only have 197. Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box? They only have how much, students? 197. Can I get a Y in the chat box, students? Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now, students, can I just write down here 197 dealership only? Now, if I'm not mistaken, students, the biggest challenge in our analysis, if I'm not mistaken, I'll guide you in that also. This is how a management accountant must think. The biggest challenge in our thing is, if I'm not mistaken, can I continue that? One thing is flow area not mentioned. Did they mention any flow area, students? If I'm not mistaken, within the dealership, did they give the flow area? The size of a dealer store? No, no, students. They have not mentioned. No. So flow area is a challenge because we don't know how the flow area is. They just mention parking lot and the showroom area. The flow area is a skepticism question that we have to ask why there is no proper flow area mentioned. I believe everyone has got that clarity behind that. Can I get a why again in the chat box? That is perfect. Now, students, another big challenge we are facing is if you see revenue, can you tell me what are the revenue streams for a car dealer? Four are there. One is new car sales, other one is used car sales. The third one is going to be what, students? Parts, correct, no, students, and components. And the fourth one is what, students? Financing. Are you clear with that, students? So these are the main revenue stream. Have they given the segmentation of the revenue? In this case, have they given any segmentation of the revenue? Given or not given, students? Not given. So in the examination, there are chances they may effectively ask a question where there can be segmentation also. Can I quickly get a double Y in the chat box, students, if you are fine with that? Can I quickly get a double Y in the chat box if you are fine with that? Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much, students. Now I'm coming to the explanation. So segmental revenue is not provided. Is not provided. Makes sense now, students? Segmental revenue. Segmental revenue not provided. Segmental revenue not provided. Do you agree with that point? Of course, I think you would have understood that in very, very, very sensible and practical manner. So segmental revenue is not given. Segmental revenue is effectively not given. Makes sense, no, students? I believe everyone has got the clarity behind that. So that is one biggest challenge that we have to make a question of doubt. So if I'm not mistaken, I'll write down here segmental revenue has not been provided. Has not been provided, and it is very, 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 very important. Can you write down exam focus? You can get a question on business intelligence. 100% sure there will be a question on business intelligence. Just make sure that is clear for you all. Can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students? So you need to write something about the business intelligence there. Business intelligence, I will teach you. You can just have an idea of that, but get the idea first. Now that is also fine. Now, students, if I'm not mistaken, let's move on to the next questions that we have to ask. Car mix. Students, can you remember there needs to be a mix of cars? Now, currently, if you see our company, we have only two categories, Bata Motors, and if I'm not mistaken, students, Limolux, right? Correct, no, students, Limolux. Do you agree with me? We only have these two. Now, in the market, there are 30 brands. Correct, no, students? So the question is, where is the car mix? That may be also one reason our revenue sectors are very long. And then students, online website. Now we have a very basic website. So can online website also be another issue, students? If I'm not mistaken, I think that also can be another issue. Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students? Online website also can be another issue if I'm not mistaken. Thank you. Thank you very much, students. Thank you very much. Now, students, let's even more go into detail. Let's go more and more into detail. So business intelligence, the online website is not given, brands is not given. Other one is after sale service. Now, in the pre-scene, the after sale service was properly mentioned, but we don't know. So can I write down here? They will ask balance scorecard, students, because students, customer perspective, how are customers satisfied or not satisfied? I believe this is also giving you a better clarity in observing the things around you. So students, in this case, Miltro is leading. They have done a price cut strategy. More value would have been given to the customers, and effectively that would have generated even better outcome for the customers. Now, if you are fine with that, students, can we go to the cost of sales comparison? Can we go to the cost of sales comparison? Can I get a double Y in the chat box, students, if you're fine with that cost of sales comparison? Now I have to ask you a question. We are not a manufacturing industry. What should be our cost of sales? Can you tell me, students? What should be our cost of sales? What should be our cost of sales? Management accountants. Quickly tell me, students. What should be our cost of sales? Practical application students. What should be our cost of sales? Inventory, no. I can say purchase of inventory. Very good. Purchase of inventory. Excellent, excellent. Delivery cost may be there. Now, another challenge is I can just work with you all so that it will be sales executive salary. Can it comes on the selling advertisement cost? That is one factor to be considered. Commissions, can that come under sales cost? We don't know till date. So students, if I'm not mistaken, what I can effectively start analyzing is, let's write down the first one. The segmental cost needs to be provided. Segmental cost needs to be provided for a better analysis. For a better what students? Analysis. Do you agree with me, students? For a better analysis, segmental cost needs to be provided. Makes sense, no, students, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that is very, 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 very important at the end of the day. Segmental cost needs to be provided for a better analysis. For a better analysis. Now, students, moving in detail. Once again, I'm coming for you all in very closer, more in detail. That is, after segmental analysis needs to be provided, what I can effectively connect it. What I can effectively connect is I can just say 2.42% is the only growth what we have. But here they have something called 11.72% of growth. Correct, no, students, if I am not mistaken. So can I effectively say, students, can I effectively say there are more investments, by Miltro specifically on workshop. Specifically on what, students? Specifically on what, students? Workshop. Students, can you remember this dealer's main income stream may be car, but the car will be used for a period of 4 years. So during that 4 years period, the workshop needs to have a high quality standard. So can I say Miltro may be investing more on their workshops? New systems, new dashboards. Can you remember, students, if I'm not mistaken, there was something called if I'm not mistaken, I'll just take it to you. There was an article here. If I'm not mistaken, students, don't forget to have your car regularly serviced. Can you remember that, students? If I'm not mistaken. Correct, no, students? So that is one factor. And the other one, students, if I am not mistaken, it was here. Don't overpay for vehicle checks. Can you remember, students, diagnostic work? They have inspection, accident work. Can you understand that? So can I say the garages are better equipped? Can I get a double Y in the confirmation chat box? If you got that point of view, student, that is, they are very well equipped. Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's perfect. It's really perfect. And I think it's getting the understanding very well for you all. So the workshop, specifically components and other factors could have been invested. Correct, no, students? Now, buy and sales is correct. But if you see workshop is another point of view we have to consider. Agree, no, students? So in this side, they are doing better. And gross profit, do you see the gross profit growth, not the gross profit margin? The gross profit growth is how much? 18.10. And you see our company, they have reduced the cost, but they couldn't increase their gross profit growth. Are you understanding what I'm meaning there, students? So customer satisfaction will be for Cuppcarr or Miltro. Who do you think, students, customers are more preferring at the moment? Customers are more preferring whom, students? Miltro, right? Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you got that analysis properly? Are you understanding that, students? This is how you analyze financial statements. We are using numbers, we are giving better decision-making points, we are being very clear as well. So I'll write down here, the gross profit growth is really high for Milpro. The reason they may be providing better service. Providing what, students? Better service. Can I get a double Y in the chat box? Since the company may have invested in better infrastructure. 100% we can conclude that there can be better infrastructure as well. I believe that is also perfectly clear for the students. Now, students, coming to the next one, administration expense looks the same because I think students, both companies has maintained the same level of staffs in admin function. Can you remember the back office function, all those things? Sales and advertising comparatively higher because more commissions would have been provided. More commission would have been provided and invested in digital marketing. Invested in what marketing, students? Digital marketing. Correct, no, students, if I'm not mistaken. Invested in digital marketing by Miltro. Miltro would have done something better. That's the analytical point there. Now, operating profit, again, they are leading. Technically, profits are better. The profits are high since more value given to customers. In the form of after-sales service. Students, I believe that everyone has got that idea in the form of after-sales service. And finance cost, no changes at all. It looks the same. A profit before tax, and if you see all these things, I can just write down, Miltro is performing better. Can I write down here? Miltro is performing better than other company, that is Cuppcarr. Other company, that is Cuppcarr. Reason may be better, but students, if I'm not mistaken, service value additions. Are you clear with that point of view, students? Can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students, if you are clear? So in the race, who won the race at the moment? Miltro won the race. So can I just give Miltro a green color indicator? Yeah, Miltro won the race. So numbers don't lie. Numbers are effectively showing what has happened effectively here. Now, students, let's move on to the next one, that is the ratio analysis. Can I get a confirmation? Yeah, Sridevi, you can unmute and talk. Yes, please.
Sir, I can see, can you scroll up a little? Yeah, administration expenses is equal between Cuppcarr and the Miltro. It is 25% both. But if you see the uh, dealership, it is very number wise, it's different. So is it not uh, lower for Miltro for 197 dealership compared to Cuppcarr?
The question is this flow area. Because the reason is maybe 197, but still maybe bigger size. Can that be? No? That's the confusion we have. Because we don't have any information regarding whether we have a standard flow area. Are you understanding that point of view? Maybe, if I'm not mistaken. And your point is perfectly correct. But the point of view is the size of the area. That matters, no, Sridevi. Example, you have a dealership. You have two dealerships and total number of cars is 20 cars in two places. I have only one dealership, but I can also accommodate 20 cars. So there is a confusion regarding the number of dealership and the flow area size. Correct, no, Sridevi?
Okay, sir. Understood.
Thank you. Thank you for that question, students. So let's move on to the next area. The next area is the most interesting area, that is the ratio analysis area. And students, I have to be very transparent to you. The class is a skill-based class. You can practice this skill even in every financial statement you are observing. Now you observe in this case, students, you have 28, 26%. That's higher compared to Miltro, right? We are selling little higher value compared with Miltro, if I'm not mistaken. And Miltro is effectively having lower margin. So why we are having higher margin is a question. Maybe our establishment. For example, Sridevi, we are a very old organization. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sridevi. We started in 1969, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Very old. And Miltro, they have not given when we
Exactly.
started the business. So there is a question of doubt that Miltro may be little older company compared with us or a younger company. So effectively, Cuppcarr has advantage of their brand positioning. Maybe for that they may be charging more. That is one more thing as well to consider. And another biggest problem in this gross profit margin is an average gross profit margin, because we are not aware who sells the highest vehicles. Used vehicle is sold by whom, and then new vehicle is sold by whom. No idea there. Some analysis can say that Cuppcarr sells more used vehicles. Miltro can sell more new vehicles. Can that be also an analysis? Of course. Of course. But is that correct? That's a question. The reason is we don't have additional data. So students, let's analyze this. The gross profit margin, look at the language I'm using. The gross profit margin is average. There is no proper analysis provided with regards to with regards to with regards to the service based gross profit. Service based gross profit. Students, do you agree with me, students, if I'm not mistaken? That is an issue. So I'll just write down and add the judgment, okay? The judgment, I'll effectively use blue color. So I'll write down our own judgment. We have to judge things. So judgment, first one, Cuppcarr may sell used vehicles. That is one option. Miltro would have sold new vehicles as per this understanding. But there's a contradiction. What is the contradiction, students? If I'm not mistaken, can you quickly tell me what is the contradiction? If I'm not mistaken. The contradiction is very transparent. What is the contradiction, students, if I'm not mistaken? The contradiction is, if they are selling new vehicle, how can their revenue go up? That is correct. Now the understanding is new vehicles may be more expensive compared with what? Compared with used vehicle. Compared with used vehicle. This is one judgment only, but we don't know, students. We don't know anything with regards to that. Excellent. So that is one factor that we have to consider. And the second thing, students, if I'm not mistaken, workshop margin has not been mentioned. So I'll write down here, workshop margin, workshop and finance and insurance margin. Finance and insurance. Correct, no, students? Insurance margin has not been mentioned. Has not been what, students? Mentioned. Has not been mentioned. Used car get a good margin. Correct, correct. That's what I was explaining. So students, I believe this is getting your clarity here. Can I get a Y in the chat box, students, if you are getting that industry analysis point of view? Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now let's come to the operational profit margin, students. Now 16%, 15.8, and here 10.50 and 10.80. Okay, so now you can observe one thing, operation profit margin wise, we are having a higher operating profit margin, but this company is having a low. But if you see, the growth is very high for Miltro. So when the operating profit margin is low, means the operational cost is high. Again, I'm repeating, if the operational profit margin is high, means the cost is low. If the operational profit margin is low means the cost is very high, negative relationship. Because when you incur more operational cost, the operational profit will reduce. Can I get a Y in the chat box? Can I quickly get a Y in the chat box if you understood that operational profit changes? Now you have to be very transparent. The transparency is sometimes operational cost may add value to the service. Because cost cutting, if you do, there will be an impact to your revenue also. So I'll write down here the operational profit margin. The operational profit margin is always high when the operational costs are low, which may affect the quality, which may affect what students? The quality. Can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you understood that applied thinking there, students? It may affect the quality. In this case, we can understand that the operational profit margin is low for Milcro, but the profit growth is high, mainly because better service. Students, you see, BMW car will have operational low profit, but Mazda will effectively have a better profit. Correct, no, students, if I'm not mistaken. I believe everyone has got the understanding very clear. Can I get a double Y in the chat box, students, if you are fine with this operational profit margin concept here? So in this case, service quality is dominating. I believe that is very practical. So coming to the net profit margin, again, we have a very low net profit margin. And the main reason I can say, main reason for the net profit to be lower for Miltro is better service quality, which can be reflected by the growth in the revenue. Are you clear with that, students? Which can be reflected by the growth in the revenue. I believe everyone has got that understanding very clearly. I believe that's giving you a better applied thinking, better clarity at the moment. Any questions you like to ask, you can ask me, students. But if you are fine with that, I will get a double Y in the chat box. So everyone is getting that clarity they have. So the biggest problem for us is we are not investing on service. We are just buying, selling, maintaining our existing places. That is the observation here at the moment. The observation here at the moment is that's only. Now let's come to the ROC. Now, what do you see in the ROC? Again, operating profit divided by capital employed. Even you see ROC, domination wise, we are doing higher. The reason behind it is old assets. We may have old assets. When we have old assets, students, anyway, we will be having a better ROC because capital employed may be little bit older. So can I just write down here, students? Once again, the ROC for Cuppcarr is high, but the question to be asked is, can the company be able to survive in the future? Since Miltro has better infrastructure, because that is the practical point of view at the moment. They have the better infrastructure. So you may end up like Nokia. Now it's the same case study. Students, think about Nokia. Once upon a time, Nokia would have had a very high net ROC compared with Apple. Now Apple is having the same thing, most students. Now say Apple is not investing much. Can I get a double Y in the chat box if you understood that Apple logic, students, Apple and Nokia logic? Now, if you look at Apple's financial statement, everything will be high, very high. But if you see today, the future is confusing. Future is confusing. If you are an investor, you have to always make sure not to invest in companies which are having high ROC above the average. Sometimes they may manipulate. So in the current case, there is a company called Nothing. I think you may be aware there's a mobile phone company called Nothing. Slowly, they are emerging in the country everywhere. So that is clear. Now, if you observe the asset turnover, students, that how did I calculate it? Sales divided by capital employed. I did not take asset. Sales divided by capital employed. Capital employed is, students, equity plus loan. Okay, that is capital employed. So I'll just write down cap emp. Okay, that is cap emp. The how much money you employed into the organization. Now, students, 1.62, 1.55, 1.68, 1.53. You are effectively seeing that 1.62, 1.55, 1.68, 1.53. So I can effectively say one thing. Now, Sridevi's doubt is getting cleared now. Sridevi, if you don't mind, can we have a quick discussion, if you don't mind, Sridevi, if I'm not mistaken? Yeah, now
Yes,
the question you are asking was getting clarified. Now, can you remember the administration cost, if I'm not mistaken, with the numbers 197, 214? Now, if you see the asset turnover wise, let's forget about it. It's almost coming closer. Correct, no, Sridevi, if I'm not mistaken. Just a zero point 0.7 different, 0.07. Correct, no, Sridevi, if I'm not mistaken. So effectively, can I
yes,
say
sir.
the flow area like looks the same or effectively comparable? Are you understanding what I'm saying there, Sridevi? That's how we measure the flow area in case if they don't give us the information relating to the flow area. Is that clear now? Yeah. So I'll write down here,
Yes, sir. Clear.
the asset base is very much similar to each other. Very much similar to each other. The reason behind this, the reason behind this, the reason behind this, the reason behind this is the company, the company is having, the company is having, the company is having. The reason behind this is the company is having almost equal flow area despite the size of dealership. Despite the size of dealership. So size of dealership may be Cuppcarr leading, but still the flow area remains the same. That is the ideology behind that. The next one. Now, current ratio, quick ratio, technical analysis is sometimes wrong. Technically, they say 2 is to 1. And the quick ratio you would have studied, it should be what, students? 1 is to 1. Are you understanding that point of view? Current ratio 2 is to 1, or what is the other one, students? 1 is to 1. Correct, no, students? Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you got that idea? 2 is to 1 or 1 is to 1? It should be the standard. Now, students, here you see industry wise, both are in the car sector, but it's not 2 is to 1, it's 0.8, very low. And quick ratio is very low. Very low. Now you have to use the common sense. Now, this is where human intelligence beat artificial intelligence. Because if you feed the algorithms of anything, they will give you standard responses. But the beauty of the human thinking is we can always give completely different responses at the end. Now, you see the financial statements. If you see the financial statements, in current asset, our domination is what? What is our dominating current asset? Inventory, right? Do you see here the inventory is how much? 602. Total is 823. And bank balance is very less. Because whenever they get money, they would have defectively invested in a new car or a property. Correct, no, students? So in this industry, the current assets domination is car. Now, if you observe, car may be a slow moving inventory. Car may be just a slow moving inventory, technically, but in reality, car is a liquid in the inventory. Why? Because you have an active market for a car. Can I get a double Y in the chat box if you understood that? Because car is an asset. If you have used a car, you will know whatever said and done, car can be sold. Not immediately, but can be sold. It will not be really, really slow moving industry. Unless and otherwise you have Rolls Royce, these expensive cars. So now students, if I'm not mistaken, I'll just write down the domination of current assets. The domination of current asset is what? Is what? Is what? Inventory. The domination of current asset is inventory, which is car, which is car. Generally, car is slow moving, but still, finance can be arranged. Example, like a mortgage. Can you mortgage your car, students? Possible or not possible? Can you mortgage your car and get a loan? Possible or not possible, students? Of course, right? You can mortgage your car. Bank will accept it. Agree, no, students? In that case, you can go for a sale and lease back. So can I write down another one that we can effectively go another strategy, sale and what, students? Lease back. That is also possible, no, students? Can I get a confirmation there? So in that case, if you observe, this industry structure itself is like this. You will effectively go with the model where there is an inventory application. I believe everyone has got the clarity at the moment. So in this case, we can't make any interpretation of current ratio and quick ratio because inventory is our domination. So the interpretation for this is incorrect in technical analysis because you have to make it in the business judgments. Wonderful. Now, students, the next one, just to make your life easier, the gearing ratio, very easy. 22, 26, 17, and 9, 17.57. So I'll write down here. The gearing ratio, is very much minimal by both the companies. By whom, students? By both the companies. Do you agree with me, students? Yes or no? By both the companies. Therefore, we can understand that there can be questions on WACC. There can be questions on what, students? WACC. Weighted average cost of capital. There are videos, please watch it. But there are questions on WACC because they'll ask, can we borrow money? Yeah, we can borrow money, but our cost of capital may increase, which we will cover later. Now, students, if you are fine with that, can I come to the interest cover? Can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box? Can I go ahead with the interest cover, students? If I'm not mistaken, can I get a confirmation there? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, interest cover, excellent, if I'm not mistaken, both the companies. The interest cover is dominating the payable capacity, and both the companies can pay on time. So borrowing is not an issue. Now, children, if I'm not mistaken, let's come to inventory. 2 months, slow inventory, right? Can I write down here? Car is a slow moving inventory. It's a slow moving what, students? Inventory. Correct, no, students? If I'm not mistaken, can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students? Car is generally what, students? A slow moving inventory. Makes sense, no, students? Of course, it makes sense. And it is very clear also, if I'm not mistaken. Car is a slow moving inventory. Therefore, it takes time. It takes time for repeat purchase. Not like everyday people buy. It's a capital. Then the receivable days, the good thing is maximum 13 days. 2 weeks is the maximum because you don't sell car on credit. So I'll write down here. The receivable days are well managed. The receivable days are what, students? Well managed. The receivable days are well managed since there is no proper, if I'm not mistaken, students, no proper issues with bad debts. Because anyway, bad debts can't happen. The reason is you won't sell it on credit. Therefore, good management of cash. Now see the cash cycle. It takes 72 days to bring back the money. It takes 50. Now you invest in inventory. Inventory is sold on 13 days credit, so around 72 days. And can you remember, students, it was mentioned used car, 7 days money back. Can you all remember that? 7 days money back. Can you remember it was mentioned money back for used car? Can you remember that, students? So maybe that. Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box? Maybe that. Maybe 7 days money back, students, they may have that issue. Can you remember, students? They have that option. That is that. And cash cycle, if you observe, students, you can clearly see 72 days it will take you to make your money back. But your payables effectively will take 88 days. 88 days. So you see here, you have cash before your suppliers ask you. So your cash is surplus. Cash surplus is there because you have money within 72 days and your suppliers comes and ask you money within 88 days and you have effectively 16 days extra to pay them. So I'll write down here, students. The company is having a working capital surplus. A working capital was, students, surplus since they are collecting money earlier than the suppliers' due dates. Therefore, it is a perfect business management structure. Perfect business management structure. Students, I believe everyone has got that clarity clearly, excellently. Now, sorry to say, students, I also don't know, anyone also don't know why every time they're giving this. Even last time also they said 96, 84% dividend payout. And it's a trend. Every time they're giving it. And just as a teacher, I have to give you the analysis. The analysis is the dividend payout is high. Because practically it can't be. The dividend payout is high. It's high. Therefore, in that case, the company needs to make sure that we are able to provide more capital for future funding because when you pay more dividends, you need to ask more capital for future funding also. Sustainability must be there. But why they give, I don't know, 96%, very, very difficult if you pay. It will be like a sole trader business. Correct, no, students? Sole traders only take that much of money out of their business. So if you observe, what are the key insights what we learned? So can I just write down here key insights? Now I think I'll just finish the insights and then we can effectively go for the one-to-one question discussion. So key insights. So what are the key insights? The first thing, if I'm not mistaken, is Miltro has invested in better resources, in better students resources. Do you agree with that point, students? Miltro has invested in better resources. Can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students? Miltro has invested in better resources. The second one, if I'm not mistaken, is the company has a good borrowing capacity. Both the companies, right? They have a good borrowing capacity. That is also very, 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 very clear for both the party. And then working capital is effectively managed well. Working capital is effectively, what students, effectively managed well. Working capital is effectively managed well. So these are the main finding, if I'm not mistaken. So any questions you like to ask? So I'll go for the one-to-one discussion. Douglas, Mr. Douglas, any questions you like to ask, Mr. Douglas? Mr. Farhan, any questions you like to ask? Mr. Kin, any questions you like to ask? Mr. Mohammed Ferdows, any questions you like to ask? Mr. Saeed, any questions you like to ask? Ms. Sridevi, any questions you like to ask? Excellent, wonderful. I believe you are confident. Don't worry, you will pass the exam. I told you have that manifestation that you have already passed the exam. Industry understanding will be excellent and clear. The only thing is technical revision. This time I will completely do the technical revision with all the questions, and I will take more time also and finish it off. And with every success, we can clear this off with good results also. So students, will meet you on Thursday class. Thursday class, I will do with a case study. I'll start with our unseen materials, and based on that, our application will increase. Thank you very much, students. See you on Thursday, same time. Take care. Good night, students.